Carlene and welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial will be on how to make a wedding cake card holder from foam board, my absolute favorite. Notice here I have three circular cutouts measuring size 13, size 11, and size 9. I like to number my circles just so that I know what size I'm dealing with as I go along. Along with my circular cutouts, I have strips of foam board. These strips will be used to frame my circles to make the wall of my cake for my size 9, 11, and 12, 13 inches. Now these are scored sections measuring 4 inches high and 1 inch across. Notice how easily I can bend each section. This is because they're scored. By scored, I mean that I use my utility knife to cut about 1/4 of the way through the foam board without going through. This allows me to shape the foam board as I wish. Now I need to get a nice round shape. See how nice and easily that bends? I will demonstrate this by using my 9-inch circle. You see how easily and effortless this goes right around the circle? When you put them both together, they look quite nice. Now I'm going to put this 9-inch cake on top of the 11-inch. Now the 9-inch will be my third tier and the 11-inch is going to be my fourth tier. You can also do the same technique with cardboard, but for this particular project, I prefer to use the foam board. Now stick with me because I'm going to show you. Hi, so I just want to show you how I go about cutting out and sizing my circles for my cake. You can use anything at home, for instance a dinner plate, because you know dinner plates are usually perfectly round, and I'm sure you can find a dinner plate at home that's a 9-inch. The sizes of my cakes are 13, 11, 9, 7, and 5, so I had 5 tiers. So what I used was a protractor. You can also, after sizing it up, you can also use that circle for a template and then continue to cut out in case you want to make more later for cakes or anything else that's going to be circular. So what I used, like I said, was a protractor. You can also use a pencil tied with a string tied onto it, and you can use that to make circles. Anyway, it's simple, of course, using your whatever it is you're going to use to use the circle. You just outline it, and the thing is, how I cut mine out is I just stick a sharp utility knife. So I got my utility knife, it's sharp, and I don't use it flat. When I'm cutting circles out, I don't put it flat on my surface or my cutting mat. It's harder to cut out. If I'm cutting squares or something, yes, but if I'm doing circles, it's a little harder to cut out and maneuver, manipulate. So I put it at an angle above my mat board, and I stick the edge right in so that it's coming through at the bottom. And I just hold it and cut like I would be cutting, like I'm cutting anything else. And you tend to get a much more perfect circle by doing it this way rather than putting it down on the mat. And just continue to cut all the way around. You see how nice and circular that is? So that's how I do it. And try, and when you, well, anyway, with me, what I do is I like to use up everything I have. So use the most edges so that you can save it and use it again for later if you don't want to waste it, unless you don't mind. Okay, so that's how I cut my circles out. Okay, for this part of the project, you will need masking tape, foam board, measure 20 by 30 inches, a marking tool, and your T-square. So first, align the edges of your foam board along the edges of your work surface and secure with masking tape. I like to use masking tape. And measure 1 inch in increments along the longest side. You should get 29 lines. Now match up your notches with your T-square and start to draw your lines. I'm finished drawing all my lines, 29 lines, 30 spaces, 1 inch apart, which will give me the width for each bent section. My aim is to make strips that I can put around the base of my cake. My strips will be 4 inches high. The length will be decided as I work. This is the technique that I like to use to make my circles. Now I will be using my T-square again to complete my lines. But you should know that this foam board measures 20 by 30. So I am now going to use my T-square and line it up with the notches to draw 4 lines, each 4 inch apart. This will give me the height of all my strips. So I'm just drawing my first line. My second line, 4 inches apart. Make sure your T-square is aligned along the edges of your work surface and that it is secure. I use masking tape because it is easy to peel off once my job is done. So I'm just drawing my last line. So I'll have 5 spaces and 4 lines. Now, when you are ready to cut, you know you have 5 sections, 29 lines running up and down the foam board. Do not cut your foam board section by section. Rather, make one long line all the way down. This makes it easier. And then when you're done cutting all your lines, 2 to 3 times, about a quarter of the way through your foam board, then when you've done all that 29 times, then you can cut across and separate your sections. Cut right through and separate your sections. Right across, just like that. Then you'll have your strips. I am now attaching this strip to the base of the cake with hot glue. But be very careful, it can get very hot. Keep firm pressure for about 10 seconds to adhere the strip to the base. And as you work your way around, push downward and to the sides to ensure that both base and strip are flush with one another. Continue on in this manner. I recommend putting the glue on the strip rather than on the base of the cake. It just seems to work better this way. It seems a little easier for me. If you run out of strips as you're going around your cake, cut a piece off of another strip, attach, and continue. Again, push gently for about 10 seconds so you make sure that each end adhere to the other. When you feel the glue has cooled somewhat, just remove it with your finger. See, it didn't burn me, not this time. Being perfect is not necessary right now because all these flaws will be covered up. So don't worry about being perfect. Hot glue is easy. Once it gets hard, it's easy to remove. So you don't have to really worry about it getting on your counter or on your mat board. It's easily removed. And then at the end, we'll join them and then cut what's left over. Okay, so when you come to the very end and you're joining your pieces, I just joined this piece to here. I just joined a little piece. I cut off a little piece off of a larger strip and put it on to here. So when you're ready to join it, what I've learned to do is just join it up. And I think I prefer to actually put my hot glue onto the bottom. Oops. I prefer to put the glue onto the bottom of, I can't really see. Like this, okay? I shouldn't be doing it on here. I really shouldn't be. Okay, so then of course you squeeze it flush. Push it down as you go. Push the bottom down. Right? And push while you push the bottom of the base down. Okay. So it becomes flush. And so I'm just pushing it up. Notice I left a little piece undone. The last little piece here, I did not put the glue onto it. So that's at least, I want to make sure that I do get them to adhere to each other. Okay, and I think that's about it. I would like to give it some extra time. I shouldn't have put it on my mat board because now it's going to come off anyway. My mat board I had for years. Okay, so when I get to here, see right here, I'm just going to draw a straight line right up. I'm going to join them. And then I'm going to take my utility knife and I'm just going to go right down the center. Right down along that line. I'm going to cut it as if I was cutting bread. Just as if I'm cutting bread. This foam core, like I said earlier, is very soft. It's not a hard kind. Okay, so cut it right off. And then I'm going to join them up. Okay. Some hot, well, now the glue, I hope it's still going to be hot. I didn't plug it back in. And just join them together. And you have it there. I have so far. Okay. This is my 11-inch. Okay, so I just want you to know that now that we've made the cake, or I've made the cake, the base that I was talking about earlier now becomes the top. You're going to make a hole in it, and this is where the envelopes are going to drop. You can even make it bigger than that if you wanted to, okay? But just make sure when you make it that that one above it is going to cover the hole, okay? I made it pretty big. So now, as you can see, no bottom, just a hole. That's it. So all I did was I made squares from cardstock and cut out each corner. Just made a nice little cutout so that I would get a pretty shape. I don't know what this shape is called, I'm not sure what the shape is called. But anyway, I couldn't find it in Google. But anyway, I use different sizes for each cake because, of course, there are different sizes. So for instance, this cake here, I use this size and this size for this last tier right here. You can try saving your templates, okay? Comes in handy later for various different projects. Okay, so in the next frame, I'm going to show you how it's done, or how I do it, not how it's done, how Carlene does it. Okay.